It's good day to brew, baby. What is up, YouTube? Bitch boy Millsy. Back with Home Talk Commander. Back for another episode of Millsy Brews, the show where I brew my version 1.0 deck list of the Commander and Pharos on my quest out brew the magic world. As always, the deck list is going to be down in the description for you below. As well as I'd really appreciate if you could interact with the video, like, comment, subscribe, consider becoming a member of the channel. I'd really appreciate it. But today, we're doing another look back of a commander we brewed a long time back, but new Bloomburrow support has made me want to come back. And that's all the prowess, right? All the spell slinging stuff we had in the set. Made me want to go back to a commander like Narset that cares so much about prowess. Narset Enlightened Exile is a Jeskai human monk that gives all of our creatures prowess, and when it attacks, we can exile target non-creature, non-land card with mana value less than Narset's power from a graveyard and copy it, cast the copy without paying its mana cost. I think Narset's great for two reasons. You spread the prowess around, and every time it attacks, you get to copy a spell out of a graveyard, right? And use it for your benefit. Probably trigger prowess again, get more value. I mean, at the end of the day, the goal is trying to put down as many creatures as we can that either have prowess or give prowess to other creatures, so we can have multiple instances of prowess. We're going to go wide, right? Because at the end of the day, all of our tokens are going to have prowess, meaning the wider we go with these abilities that make tokens when we cast spells, they're just going to get bigger. And then we're just going to try to get into combat with all of these things and just push in for big damage. The cool part about Narset is because prowess triggers on non-creature spells, all of these support artifacts and enchantments are going to trigger prowess as well. There's really no limit to what we can do with Narset and how we can have fun. So how do we get more prowess? Well, we have things like Balmor. Whenever we cast instant or sorcery, creatures we control get +1/+1 trampled on the turn. We have Bria that we did on the channel not a few weeks ago that gives prowess to all other things. And then whenever we cast a non-creature spell, something gets not be able to be blocked. This feels like it's really good with Narset. Because then if you cast a spell that turn, Narset can't be blocked. Now you can swing with Narset for free and you're guaranteed to get her ability. Otherwise you get into combat and then swing and get something out of somebody's graveyard and give something else unblockable. Bria's just going to allow you to get a bunch of unblockable creatures, potentially. Harmonic Prodigy will actually double up the ability of all wizards and shamans, meaning that I believe because Narset gives all other creatures prowess, the prowess are considered their abilities, meaning wizards and shamans are going to get their prowess triggering off twice, and there's a lot of wizards in this deck, so this is going to work really, really well. Leonin Lightscribe says whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery, creatures we control get +1/+1 on the turns. Kind of a pseudo prowess, but it does actually trigger off copying it as well, which is kind of a cool ability. Varen says if casting or copying an instant or sorcery causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, triggers an additional time, so double prowess for all those creatures. And then Varen will get bigger every time we cast or copy a spell. And remember that Varen will also double its own Magecraft ability. And then Jeskai Ascendancy is another fun way to have prowess. Whenever we cast a non-creature spell, creatures we control get +1/+1 and untap. And then when we cast a non-creature spell, we can draw in if we do pitch. So we just kind of loot through our library a little bit. Again, the point here is extra prowess triggers, right? To stack on top of the prowess triggers we already have. But then we also just want to go wide, right? Saheeli makes a 1/1 servo. Every time we cast a non-creature spell, Charismatic Conqueror can get us vampires every time an artifact or creature comes in untapped under their opponent's control unless they tap it. So if they don't want it to come in tapped, they're going to give us that 1/1, and those 1/1s with lifelink can potentially gain us a ton of life as that prowess just makes them bigger and bigger. Eris Roar the Storm can come down a little bit cheaper once we get enough instants and sorceries in our graveyard. Flying and prowess 4/4, and when we cast our second spell each turn, makes a 4/4 dragon elemental with flying and prowess, so can start making bigger tokens, right, that are only just going to get bigger. Kaikar is going to make a 1/1 spirit every time we cast a non-creature spell. Feels great here when they can really get bigger with that prowess. Monastery Mentor makes monks with prowess, and it has prowess itself. So again, right, more prowess to go around. Murmuring Mystic can make 1/1 birds every time we cast an instant or sorcery spell. Again, Narset will give those prowess. Storm Splitter is kind of an intriguing card. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you make a copy of Storm Splitter, and that copy will have haste because Storm Splitter has haste, and we exile the token at the beginning of the next end step. What I like about Storm Splitter is we could potentially just have a ton of them, and have our opponents have to deal with a bunch of Storm Splitters laying around. Remember that it's going to double, right? It's exponential, right? You cast the first spell, you get one copy of the Storm Splitter. You cast another spell, you have two Storm Splitters that go into 4, right? And it's just going to kind of get bigger and bigger the bigger turns we can have. Talrand makes Drakes when we cast instant or sorceries. And then Wildfire Awaken will come in and make a bunch of elementals that say once it becomes tapped, it deals 1 damage to target player. But really, we can convoke it out, meaning we could try to make as many elementals as we can. And then all those elementals are going to have prowess and get buffed. Like, the whole goal here is just to go wide so we have more things to have prowess every time we cast something. Young Pyromancer, one of the classic spell token generators, making elementals every time we cast instant or sorcery. Song and Totentanz just feels good here, making a bunch of 1/1 rats and then giving everything haste. Although the rats won't see their prowess triggers from this Song of Totentanz, I think what could be good is this, and then you get into combat and Narset casts something, and then they all get the prowess coming up to 2/2s, or whatever else you can maneuver on your board. And then Shark Typhoon just feels right. Being able to get these XX sharks in the air, where X is the mana value of spells you're casting, and then they're just going to get prowess and get bigger. It's almost infinitely better that they're in the air than on the ground, because they become harder for our opponents to deal with if they don't have flyers in their own deck. But as far as getting stuck in, there's a lot of ways we can do this. We have things like Crash Through that we can play in our main phase, and then Narset can play out of our graveyard later to just give all our creatures trample, and we draw a card. Again, it's a prowess trigger. All of our creatures then get trample, and it draws us a card. And we can do it twice, right? Once when we play it, and then once back out of our graveyard for Narset. Well, same thing with extra combat spells, right? Relentless Assault gives us an extra combat, and then we can potentially cast it back out of our graveyard with Narset. Same thing with Seize the Day. Untap target creature after this main phase. There's an additional combat phase followed by initial main phase. Now, Seize the Day only untaps 1 creature, but that's okay, because if we get a creature big enough, or Narset becomes a threat on its own, I still think it's worth it. This also means that we could plan into it. Have Narset be the only one to attack on the first attack. Use this, get another prowess trigger for everybody, and get in for another combat. Surge to Victory is a card I really enjoy. We exile target instant or sorcery from our graveyard. All of our creatures get +X/+O, where X is that card's mana value. And then whenever a creature we control deals combat damage to a player this turn, we copy it and we cast the copy without paying its mana cost. This works really well to just give all of our creatures a big buff, but then we're going to make a ton more tokens for next turn when we cast those copies and get all of our spell singing triggers. Warlord's Fury can give all of our creatures first strike and draw us a card. Again, great for Narset to play back out of the graveyard. And then, if we think about it, we can get a Chroma's Will twice, right? Once when we cast it, and then once back out of our graveyard with Narset. As long as Narset's out, we can give all of our creatures flying, vigilance, double strike, lifelink, indestructible, and pro from all colors, making them unblockable, hit hard, and gain us a ton of life. I love a Chroma's Will. It's a great finisher, and being able to do it once when we play it, and then another time on a future turn when Narset plays it back out of the graveyard, it just seems so good. Flying Crane technique seems fun. Untap all creatures you control. They gain flying and double strike till end of turn. This is great if we're using our creatures for anything else. They can untap and still be able to attack. Or if we're already in combat, right? This gives them all vigilance, right? Because they just untapped. And then they have flying and double strike. Now they're going to be even harder to deal with for our opponents. And this is another prowess trigger on top of it. Same with Jeskai Charm. I like the idea of 3 mana to give all of our creatures lifelink and +1/+1 until end of turn, plus that prowess trigger. Meaning that we can use this defensively, putting something on top of its library or dealing damage to an opponent if we need to, or we can use it offensively both times, both when we play it and it goes to the graveyard and then back out of the graveyard. You could kind of see where some of these spells effectively can get double uses when we play them and then play them back out. Or with something like Flying Crane technique, maybe you pitch it when you're drawing because you don't think you're going to get to that 6 mana and make it worth it. Then you can just play it out of your graveyard, instead of having to play it the first time. And then City on Fire. You could convoke it out with all the tokens we're making. Triple damage to a permanent or player, which feels just great when we have all of these little 1/1s, 2/2s that are getting buffed by just +1 or +2. That's a ton of damage our opponents then have to deal with. I said it before on the show and I'll say it again. No deck's ever complete. And I think one of the cards I show on the screen is probably going to make a couple people of an Narset deck angry. But I'm going to explain to you why I didn't make the deck. But we'll talk about what we hope to learn in testing. I think I tried my best to go as wide as possible. That was my focus for the deck. I think a very classic Narset card is Kenra Spell Spear. And it's a great creature. It's a 2/2 on the front with trample and prowess. And you could turn it over on the backside to a 3/3 with double prowess and ward 2. I think it's a really great card, but I tried my best to make sure I had as many wizards in the deck that can get doubled up with Harmonic Prodigy and as many things that can make tokens, because I'd rather raise the whole sea than just one creature. I get it, I'm going to get some hate in the comments, but I think it makes more sense to me, and I would love to be wrong, but that's how I see it. And then Glamdring just seems interesting, giving Narset, hopefully, first strike and +1/+0 for each instant and sorcery in our graveyard, meaning that Narset trigger when she attacks is going to be even higher, right? Because we're going to have a higher power to go from. And then whenever it deals damage to a player, we can cast an instant or sorcery from our hand with mana value less than or equal to that damage without paying its mana cost, allowing us just to effectively play some free spells out of our hand. I think Glamdring would be even better if we spun a little bit more into like extra turns. I think it would be a near perfect include, because then you just get to play those extra turn spells out of your hand for free when you hit with Narset. But I don't really see it in this build, but I could understand where it could be. But I know that I'm going to get some hatred here, and I'd love to talk about it in the comment section below. But to me, I see the Wizards and the Go Wide being a little bit more value than one creature becoming big. And if not, I'd love to talk with you in the comment section about it below. But let's get into our playtests. Our first one, we're keeping a 4-lander with Ral, Rapid Hybrid, and Harmonic Prodigy. So we have that stuff starting. Ral is going to make us those otters with prowess, and then eventually can start giving our things Storm and just churning through our deck with its middle ability. Ral is great for this deck, especially with how quickly it can grow. Turn 1, we'll play that Mystic Monastery. I mean, there's not much we can do here turn 1. I doubt anything on that, is going to be worth playing that Rapid Hybrid on turn 1. Turn 2, we have the option to play that Prodigy this turn, which we could do. I just don't have any Wizards yet to really make it too worth it, but I don't really see anything else being worth it on turn 2, so I think it's better just to get that Prodigy down. Turn 3, still no options here. We can Frantic Search, so that is an option. Maybe we, pitch a land here. But it says draw 2, discard 2, and then untap up to 3 lands. It might make more sense in a turn where we can get multiple spells in. I don't know that I hate any of my lands. I'm kind of not sure really what I do or don't want here. So I think I'll just pass. Maybe in my opponent's turns I do it. But again, if I do this, I'm probably just going to end up pitching a land in something that I draw. And I don't know. I don't think that it does me any good right now. I'd kind of rather wait a turn where I can untap those lands and use it for another spell, right? More prowess triggers. Turn 4, we'll get the Battlefield Fortune. I think we'll just get Narset down, set it up for next turn when we can potentially take advantage of it. We'll kind of see what we can do here. Turn 5, we'll play that Landscape. Because my thought process here is I could Frantic Search into Ral. That's 2 prowess triggers, right? And then I could always cast Frantic Search out of my graveyard with Narset if I wanted to. Ral wouldn't get a token, wouldn't get an extra counter that way, but we could at least get another creature on board. So this is my thought. Pay 3, draw 2, let's pitch the Fable. And then we'll keep the Prairie Stream because this can go get us another basic. So I guess we'll pitch the Darkar Wastes. Untap the 3 lands, play Ral, right? So we're at 2 now for the prowess. And I would just probably use Ral to make an otter. And then, we can attack this turn, play the Frantic Search if we want to, or play something from somebody's graveyard. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're getting... This got its power... it doesn't double itself, but, this is up 2, this is up 2. We could attack and take somebody's things, but otherwise, I think we just set up really well this turn. And I think that means, in the way we tapped our lands, we can just sack this Landscape. Thinking a blue source. And then we'll come into our next turn, play this so that Prairie Stream can come and untap next turn. 6 mana and the Ral and that Otter. I mean, there's a world where we could just go deep into the Awakener. And although that wouldn't be a non-creature spell, it would set us up really well for next turn. 6, 7, 8, 9. We could go 6 into our Wild Awakener, or we could plus up Ral and go 7 into Wildfire Awakener, which doesn't feel bad to me. Adding a loyalty counter. I think I'm adding a loyalty counter and getting an Otter no matter what. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I kind of like that. Even if we want to leave one thing up, right? 1, 2, 3, 9. So we could go, let's just go 6 into it, right? Let's leave Narset up, just in case. But again, now these elementals are going to have prowess on future turns, and they're going to start dealing damage out to our opponents. We can even go 5 to leave Rapid Hybrid up, if we wanted to. I guess that's our choice. But again, I feel not too bad here going into the next turn, turn 7. Put that Prairie Stream down. Now we Balmor, right? Balmor can attack this turn, but that's okay. We've got 5 mana up. We've got lots of prowess triggers, and now they're going to get extra, right, because of the Balmor, and we can still cast that Frantic Search out of our graveyard. I'm kind of thinking about doing Ral's -3 here to draw 3 and pitch 2, seeing if we can hit another spell. We don't. Dang. 1 wouldn't even be bad to shove, like, something in our graveyard to get from Narset, right? I could Rapid Hybrid here during my main phase. Get a little counter here. Everything's going to get a Prowess trigger and Balmor's trigger. So they're at +2, +1 in Trample, right? So these are 3/2s now with Trample. Narset, right, is up to a 5, right? Go to combat, swing out, right? Narset's going to go ahead, and I would say it would make sense to... We could always Rapid Hybrid again, but we could also Frantic Search, try to churn through more of our deck, right? And get some more things and untap some lands. But I think I'd just go ahead and Hybrid again. Destroy something else. Another +2, +1 in Trample to our whole entire board. And I mean, now, this is a tough board to deal with. We've already doled 6 out to somebody when they get tapped. And they're at... I apologize. No, they're not wizards, so they're not doubled up. This would get doubled up. And sorry, Balmor's trigger would be doubled up. So actually, it's 2 actual Prowess triggers, so that's +2, +2, and then 4 Balmor triggers, so that's +6, +2 in Trample. I mean, you can kind of see how this board's just going to get out of hand, right? And if nobody has any way to clear it, it just gets even worse, right? And we can always, but I think the nice part about Balmor plus that is it's just going to get better, right, as the game goes on. Getting here, the Playtest 2, we're keeping a 2-lander with Coruscation Mage, Boros Charm, Charismatic Conqueror, Slip Through Space, and that Seize the Day. This is a dangerous hand. We do have the Slip Through Space to draw, potentially. We could always get that Coruscation Mage down early if we need to. But I want to try a lower land hand just to see what we could potentially get into anything good. Turn when we draw Arcade Ticket. Okay, well, that's great. That's exactly what we were kind of hoping for, was a way to kind of get some extra mana. And all we need is 1 or 2 more lands in the top few, and we can have some fun here. Turn 2, we'll get that mountain down, get the Arcane Signet down, get our way up the mana scale. Turn 3, we draw that Caretaker's Talent. Okay, I think I'll get the Charismatic Conqueror down here, leave up the blue for Slip Through Space. I don't know that I want to do that just yet. I kind of rather keep the Slip Through Space up. But I guess there is also the idea where we could always use it, if Narset attacks. So I think I'm going to do it, pick it, draw a card that did get us the land. Okay, cool. Now on our opponent's turns, anytime an artifact or creature comes in, untap, they have a choice. Tap it or give us a 1/1 vampire. We'll just say for the purposes of this that only one person gave us a vampire on the turns on the table. I don't think that's a good or bad assumption. I think that's probably fair, especially in the times I've seen Charismatic Conqueror at the tables I play at. Here I think we have a couple core choice. We have Tygum, which can get some fun for our spells. Caretaker's Talent can draw some cards in the future. Coruscation Mage can make our spells deal some damage later. Saheeli can get us some spells. I think we should play Narset. And probably just hold here in turn 4. Coming back for turn 5, let's say we got 2 vampires this time. Untapping with still 4 lands, brutalized in the lands this draw, but I think it's still good to see sometimes what you can do just on 2 lands. I think this is a perfect time to Frantic Search. Pay 3 and we get to untap them, right? We get to draw 2 and pitch 2. I'll pitch, Seize the Day, since we can play it back out of there later. I like Boros Charm a ton, but I'm not really sure what to pitch here. I like Tygum because it can start giving those spells rebound and getting extra value, and it can't stop things from being countered. But I like this, and I like this. I guess the good part is we could still get Tygum back because of Narset's ability. We get a copy of it. So that's 1 prowess trigger so far, and we untapped them. go, what? Azorius Signet, so that's another prowess trigger. We're up to 2. And I've still got 4 mana left. I guess Saheeli. I'm just trying to think of what's my best option to get more things on the board. Let's do Saheeli. Move to combat, attack. I'd probably attack with all of them since these guys are 3/3s and they have lifelink. Narset, I think I'm just going to go ahead and cast that Slip Through Space. That's going to get me a 1/1 servo. And another prowess trigger, right? Make Narset unblockable and draw me a card. And then that's great, right? Now we've got another card, some more mana in our hand. We've got these that hit in, gained us some good life, probably, between the 9 of these. Whether they got 3 of these, whether they got blocked or not, right? That's 1, 2, 3. So that's they were all 4/4s, right? So that's 12 life, right? Protecting us a little bit. Getting into turn 6, I'm thinking what? Caretaker's Talent plus Talisman of Progress draws me a card, gets me a token, whereas Murmuring wouldn't. So I'm thinking Caretaker's Talent, Prowess trigger, gets me a servo. Talisman of Progress gets me another servo from the Saheeli, draws me a card, right? So where Prowess counts at 2. And I did what? 3 for the talent. 1, 2 for the so I have 2 mana left. I mean, Preordain makes sense. Another servo token, right? But we won't draw on it because we already drawn for that 1 for the talent. But we get to scry 2 and then draw. Chroma's Will and Snare by the Mara. Both cards I really like. We'll just keep them both on top. Draw the Chroma's Will. What, 4 prowess triggers this turn? Take a massive attack here. And I think I could attack with just Narset, seize the day, get a couple more tokens, get another trigger and take a bigger attack, or I could just do, something like Preordain again, right? Scry 2, draw that Ensnared by the Mara, put that Prodigy back on top. 5 triggers this turn, just dome everybody for some good damage, and now turn 7, Chroma's Will probably just ends the game. We can 4, 5, 6, 7 mana, right? And if we hit any land source here, which we don't, we had Chroma's Will, and we could potentially, ensnare by the Mara as well. What does Saheeli say? Target artifact you control becomes a copy of another target artifact or creature until end of turn. So we could make this servo into a talisman, right? And Mara and a Chroma's Will just for a big turn. So I think you can kind of see where if you get the right pieces down and you get the right board state sit down, you get to really have some fun. I like Narset a lot for the same reason I like Kaikar, who we covered last week. These are decks that can just make tokens go wide, make a ton of value for doing your things. And I've always kind of had a rivalry in my head. Which do I like more, Kaikar or Narset? Because I think they both have really fun playlines. They're both playing in the same pond. They're just trying to do things a little bit differently, which I think makes them fun. But I'd love to know, what do you think of Narset down in the comment section below? And I'll catch you guys next time.